Hello everyone, welcome back to the series of lectures on database management system. In our previous lecture, we discussed the relationships in the ER model and we learned about the different types of relationships based on the degree such as the unary, binary, ternary, n-ary, etc. And we also differentiated relationship based on the strong relationship and weak or identifying relationship. Now, knowing that the two entities they are related to one another, it is not always enough. For example, suppose we have two entity types, student entity type and the course entity type. So we can say that student enrolls in a course. But an important question arises, how many courses a student can take? Similarly, we can also say that how many students they can enroll in one course. So this question is very important and it leads to another important concept in the ER model that is called the cardinality. So in this lecture, we will define cardinality and we will also see its types. Let us first understand what cardinality actually means. So in the ER model, cardinality tells us how many instances of one entity type can be associated with the instances of another entity type through a relationship. In simple words, cardinality tells us how many entities can participate in a relationship. Let us take our favorite example, the student and course example. Here we have two entity types, the student entity type and the course entity type, and the relationship is student enrolls in a course. One student can enroll in multiple courses. Here you see the mapping. Student 5 can enroll in course 2, let it be the DBMS. In course 3, it can be data structures, and course 4 can be discrete mathematics. And at the same time, one course can have multiple students. For example, your DBMS can have student 1, student 2, student 3, and student 5. Therefore, a relationship between the student and course is many to many or m is to n. Now let's formally understand this. A cardinality ratio, also called the mapping cardinality, describes the numerical relationship between the entity types. So the common cardinality ratios are 1 is to 1, 1 is to many, many to one, and many to many. In our example, we have many to many relationship denoted by m is to n. But why? This is because one student can enroll in many courses and one course can have many students. Therefore, we represent the relationship as student m enrolls in n courses. So the m and n here, they indicate that multiple instances can participate on both the sides. For example, here student 1, student 2 and student 3, they are enrolled in course 2. Similarly, student 5 enrolls in course 2, course 3 and course 4. So having learnt about this important point, the cardinality ratio, let us now move to the relationship instance cardinality. So this is slightly different from the cardinality ratio shown above. A relationship instance, it represents the actual association between the particular entity type instances. For example, student 1 enrolls in course 2, student 2 enrolls in course 2, Student 3 enrolls in course 2. Student 5 enrolls in course 2. Student 5 enrolls in course 3. And student 5 enrolls in course 4. So in our particular example, here we can count all the actual student course connections. So count the number of connections over here. We have the 6 connections as shown in the diagram. So we have 6 relationship instances. So remember, relationship instance cardinality refers to the number of actual relationship occurrences or associations at a particular instance of a database. So this situation may vary, but at this particular instance, we are seeing the 6 connections. Therefore, the relationship instance cardinality here is 6. Next, we move to the third point. Here we have the student entity set cardinality. So this simply tells us the number of entities which are present in the student entity set. So here we have 5 entities in the student entity set. Therefore, student entity set cardinality is 5. Notice that this is not telling us how many courses a student is taking. It is simply telling us that how many students entities they are existing. Similarly, we have the course side. So we have course 1, course 2, course 3 and course 4. So there are total 4 entities in the course entity set. So the course entity set cardinality is 4. So again, this represents the total number of course entities irrespective of how many students they are connected to them. So these 3 things, that is point number 1, point number 2 and point number 3 and 4 combined, they are 3 different things. The cardinality ratio tells us how entities can be associated with one another. The relationship instance cardinality tells us how many actual relationships they are existing. And entity set cardinality tell us how many entities are existing. Now, having seen the 3 classifications, now let's see another important concept shown in the slide, which is the participation type. So participation tells us whether the participation in the relationship is compulsory or it is optional. So we have total participation or partial participation. Look at student 4 here. So student 4 exists in the student entity set even without participating in the enrolls in relationship. Therefore, participation of the student entity set is partial. Now look on the course side. So course 1 also exists without participating in the enrolls in relationship. Therefore, course participation is also partial. Hence, we say that student and course entities, they have partial participation in the enrolls in relationship. Let me quickly highlight the key points of this slide. So the important idea from this slide is cardinality is basically numerical constraint on an association. What do I mean by that? It tells us how many instances of one entity can participate in a relationship with the instances of another entity. For example, one student can be associated with 3 courses. So this statement is about the cardinality. So that is all what I have for you in this lecture. In the next lecture, we will discuss about the cardinality ratio in detail. Further, we will also see the participation, that is the partial participation and the total participation. Thank you for listening to me. Bye bye.